Hey everyone, this is Shintai, host of the Anime Room, and today I have with me my good friends James, what's up?
What's going on, people?
And I also have my friend Nightmare. How you doing, man?
Fine.
So today we're going to be discussing high school DxD. I'm not sure how else to introduce that because it kind of speaks for itself in many ways.
Yeah, it really does.
So, I do have to say that the impetus for me even watching this show is James. I've forgotten at this point what show I got you to watch for this.
It may have been one of the Fate series, I'm not quite sure.
It was either that or Gungrave.
Gungrave, maybe, yes. That sounds familiar.
And I think your intention was, you know I don't like this kind of shit, so you're just like, fucking watch this shit just so I can hear you bitch about it.
Yep, completely.
Thought so. So today we're just going to discuss the show, and we're going to just talk about our feelings towards it, and why James is into it, and why me and Nightmare are not. Or however the discussion goes. So, Nightmare, I know that you've written a bunch of notes. So, why don't you go ahead and share one of those notes, because I'm kind of interested to hear what you've written down.
Well, technically I have written nothing down because I don't make notes. Physical notes are for amateurs. I use my brain. That's way more important.
Mental notes.
Yeah, mental notes. Best thing ever. But yeah, what is to say about this show? Well...
a lot. And not that much at the same time.
It's weird. Well, let's first say, this is what many would find surprising is this show is adapted from a light novel. That alone is strange as hell, because how do you convey ecchi and fanservice-y stuff in a light novel? I mean, you could go for the illustrations, but there are only around 10 illustrations in a whole light novel, so I don't know, this alone makes it a very odd thing.
This is one of the things I really wanted to discuss in this, because it boggles my mind too. Okay, anime. Makes perfect sense. Whether you like ecchi or not, that's not the point. The point is it makes sense, because fan service is a visual thing. Or at least, sexual fan service. There are different kinds of fan service, but for this kind of fan service, it needs to be visual. Mangas also make perfect sense, but light novels? I guess some people prefer reading it. I don't know, I guess they like their imagination to do the work. But I think that's probably like a very niche audience. I don't think there's a ton of people out there that are really like, oh, I want to just like create it in my mind and use the book as kind of like a guideline for that or whatever. I think most people prefer to just look at the drawings.
It's even weirder because there are around 20 light novels as of now, and there's more spin-off books going on, and I don't know, I have read through the first few chapters of this, and it was a nightmare come true, no pun intended. It's all what can go wrong with a translation. It's not very well written in the first place, it's translated very poorly, sometimes even literally. There is no editing going on most of the time. That makes it even harder to read. It's not that there is much to read, but it's so odd, so incomprehensible, so repetitive. It really drains you at some points, and I'm not sure why people want to read about that in over 20 volumes. I don't know.
I think you just kind of answered your own question. I mean, there's not much to the plot at all, so why not add fan service? Because what else is there? I mean, if they were to adapt it faithfully, I don't think it would have been nowhere near as popular as it is today.
Well, I don't mind the anime in that department, but the light novel is even hard to read. I couldn't even bring myself to finish the first book. And it's not very long, in fact. It's pretty short, but I couldn't bring myself to do it because it was so bad, so boring. There was no erotic in it. There was no energy in it. It felt not like a book. It felt more like a 5th grader writing their stupid ideas with, look, there's some boobs in it and stuff like that. I'm not against erotic literature, but it has to be a little bit more competent. And it needs to be a little bit more diverse in the spelling department because, god damn it, it overused so many words. In my private community, we have now, because I read this out loud, a meme, the Crimson Overload, because crimson is one of the most famous words that this light novel uses.
I can understand erotic writing or literature or whatever in the sense that if you're trying to tell an actual love story and you use the sex scenes to drive home further the love between these characters, or you're trying to say something poignant about sexuality in general. So like erotic literature can be very good if done correctly. It can expose the naked humanity, and both figuratively and literally, and it can be good, but not like this, because where it's just supposed to be fun and goofy and not taken that seriously. It just doesn't work.
You cannot even tell that it's written in a goofy way or anything. It's just out there. It lacks of a personality in writing.
It just exists.
Yeah, it just exists. And it's okay. I mean, in theory, the combination of boobs, guy, fan service, that alone isn't bad. It's just you have to connect it in the right way. And here it feels so out there, like somebody just throw it into the room and said, well, make something out of it.
I remember you were talking about it with me, and you were saying that it actually made you appreciate the show, which is fucking astounding.
Yeah, it's funny because first off, the show runs on its own. I only have to start the video from start to finish, and I don't have to take in any effort. That alone is good, because that means that runs at a specific pace. That said, I'm not very fond how the show uses its pacing, because it tells a very, very basic story with not really much revelation in the first season, but it could be forgiven because the first light novel reads way slower. It's a slow...
It's more of an effort to get through the light novel than it is the anime.
Yeah, and there's actually no real enjoyment out of it. Even the artwork is not particularly well made. I mean, nothing that I could put off, but it's not even very rewarding to go to this. In this specific case, it's a little bit boggling the mind. And yeah, the show in itself isn't that bad compared to it. The studio tried their damn best to adapt it in a way that it's more suited for television.
Wow, I'm in shock. I was planning on reading it myself as well, but this might be a lazy excuse, but work and stuff, and probably the fact that I just didn't want to.
Blame you.
But hearing that it's even worse than the anime, that's really shocking, and I'm glad I didn't bother reading it.
Oh, but you get the chance to do this. Well, technically you don't have to read it, because I thought it's so particularly bad, I will make a video series about it, just reading it out loud, including some commentary on it. And you will see how this goes.
I will look forward to that shit.
I describe this light novel as an eldritch abomination, because the more you know about it, the worse it gets for your mind.
We've dedicated a significant amount of time to the light novel, so let's bring it back to the show itself. So James, why do you like this show?
Because it's dumb entertainment. That's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to... I mean, it has some good concepts, I guess, in between the midst of just... or fucking... whatever it is, but it's funny just to sit there and just watch this main character be you as the person watching it.
I would never consider myself as Issei.
No, not really.
Well, maybe that's just me, because I'm like, oh, okay, I love boobs, this guy loves boobs too, and it's just, it branches off from there, and it's just, I wouldn't say it's relatable at all, but it is entertaining to the point where it's just a typical guy kind of thing to do, and it's just given to you.
Well, I can kind of get what you're saying, but I think he takes it to a degree that's so ridiculous that it's not even funny, it's just retarded. Like, in the first episode where he's literally dying, and all he can think about is fuck, why couldn't she let me, touch her boobs before I died?
But that's why it's so ridiculously awful that it is funny. It's like, did this guy really just say that? Like, it's so retarded that you have to laugh.
I mean, it's not even that far-fetched. I mean, I would certainly do such a stupid joke in an action movie, but this is not an action movie.
What is this then? What is this supposed to be? What do you see like in your eyes of? What are you expecting this show to accomplish for itself? What mark is it leaving?
Well, let's say this. The genre this is placed in is the battle harem fantasy. Yes, that is a term.
Wow, fucking mouthful.
It's a fact, it's a genre, and it's actually quite popular in Japan, and there are a lot of shows about this. And there are some of them that are actually kind of okay or kind of good. Here it's like, I want a show that gives me some cool action, some nice fan service, and some mild entertainment. But I'm not sure, either the German version, I watched the German version, has really big problems making good jokes, or something doesn't connect, you know?
As you said, you like your action and fan service, and I felt like action, specifically towards the end of the series, did hold upon its own. Like, animation was fluid, good artwork, and just overall visually pleasing to the eyes. So, I mean, that in and of itself, I feel like it did well. On season 1, especially. Yeah. I'm not talking about season 2. Season 2 was a bit...
I actually didn't watch season 2, but I can clearly say that the last 3 episodes of the first season are okay. I would say they are actually enjoyable to a degree.
I think it's fair to say that they're the strongest episodes.
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
There's this one scene that I really find funny, where the 2 middle schoolers attack Issei with chainsaws. It's so ridiculous. Yeah. It's so ridiculous. I had to like that.
But I think it's because it had like a really good antagonist too.
I'm not sure. Liza is a little bit more on the douchebag scale of bad guys. I mean, you really can hate this guy, but he's such a non-threat the whole time. I mean, his only ability is that he cannot die. So
I do want to say, though, in regards to the fight scenes, this show is only 12 episodes. That's a problem, because I've seen shows that are double the length that have far better fight scenes. And I'm not just talking about Ufotable, because that would be a completely unfair comparison, because their fight choreography is well above most other fights in other series. But I've seen other shows that are double the length that have had better fight scenes. Maybe I'm just a little spoiled in that regard, but I expect a little more out of the fight choreography and the animation if the show is shorter, because they don't have to deal with the fact that they have another 12 episodes. They can just focus on the ones that they have, and that should allow them to get more out of it. Granted, they did do seasons 2 and 3, but talking just strictly season 1, I felt like it could have been better.
Oh, I would agree. I think they used most of the budget strictly on the panzer shots alone.
But even they are not the best that you could do with a low-budget studio. I mean, only to give you an example, Haikyuu Samurai Girls has a better animation budget and better boobs, and it's also only 12 episodes short, and it has technically better fight scenes. It's strange, so it's not just... It's just how it's adapted. I'm pretty sure that is the thing. It's the adaptation of a light novel here that hampered it a little bit, because the fights in the light novel aren't particularly well described, and a good director could now go on and say, well, we can change that and make it more epic, but they didn't go that route. So
they'll be more creative and whatnot. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And that may be a little bit of a problem, but okay.
I honestly, through this conversation, I feel like you guys are trying to expect something far more than what the actual series is trying to give itself to be.
Here's the thing, though, and I want to combat that with this. Fact of the matter is that the show actually has good ideas. And so it frustrates me to see ideas, they stand up on their own, and they're bogged down by a bunch of other bullshit. I actually really like the ideas of the different demon houses, and they treat each other as if they were chess pieces, and the different chess pieces have different strengths and attributes and stuff. Granted, there wasn't really any explanation as to why it is the way it is, which, I can forgive that, just because the ideas in and of themselves are actually pretty good. But yeah, the problem is we have these good ideas surrounded by a bunch of fucking garbage.
And even some things in the universe make no sense. I mean, there is this episode where they try to hunt down familiars. And it's an obvious Pokemon reference, and they go through this forest. And then there is the slime coming from the heavens. And I actually found this slime very interesting, because this slime has the ability to suppress magic, and it can tear through clothing, and it can kind of paralyze everybody who gets near it. So that's actually a very useful ability. And what do they do with it? They kill it, because it would make fan service a little bit too problematic or something like that. And I'm like, no, that is actually a good idea. Why not? Yes, it's a pervert idea, but this is a pervert world, so why not go with it?
Yeah, it's a pervert show.
But
so why not go with it?
But that is an idea. That is the concept, but it's not the direction they wanted to go.
Yeah.
Just because it's not the direction they wanted to go, that doesn't mean it's a good decision.
Also, why not?
I agree.
Do you know a main character who has a familiar or sidekick that's actually a clothing-eating slime? That's pretty unique.
Especially for this kind of show, you'd think that would be perfect. It feels like such a missed opportunity for no reason.
No, I definitely agree. And I guess that's why it frustrates you, because it has all these ideas and it's not adapting off them.
Here's the problem. That is a missed opportunity within the context of the show. The stuff I was referring to earlier were ideas that could have worked outside of the context of the show and would have worked in a better script, in a better show, one that's actually taking itself seriously.
The chess piece concept, for example, is better explored in the earlier episodes of Code Geass. That we can clearly agree on.
Yes.
So, but I don't know. I think they take chess a little bit too literal, because chess is technically no tactical game. It's more a game of bluffing, technically, of how can you move your pieces so that they will taking in the specific order so that you can overthrow the enemy. That's more or less what chess is. It's a game of logic and wits against the enemy.
Something this show lacks.
I clearly don't see their big plan. In the 3 episodes, in the final episodes, in this ranking game, they fight in this gym, and their plan is to distract the enemy for so long that we can blow up the gym. That is a tactical genius decision. Why not do it now? There has to be a little bit wind up, I understand that, but there's nothing from stopping you doing that. So yes, the technical plan in the last few episodes is taking the pieces out and then defeat the enemy. That alone is pretty stupid, because the enemy is technically immortal, so you cannot really beat him. That is strange. It's the ultimate no-win scenario, but I'm not at Starfleet, and this is not the Kobayashi Marus.
Oh, that's a joke that not a lot of people are going to get.
Yeah, I'm old.
I got that. No.
You got that, James?
Maybe. Yeah, I totally got that.
I don't know if I believe you or not.
It would be fun to see an anime character who's called Kobayashi Maru.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be fun.
So part of the reason why I don't like the show is, it teases you with stuff that could work in shows that are taking themselves more seriously. And as well, I just don't like this kind of thing. I get why people like you, James, get a kick out of it. It's a show where you turn your brain off, you just sit back and you're like, ha, titties. Ah, that was funny. And that's all you get out of it. And that's fine, I get that. But for me...
Of course, yeah.
It wasn't necessarily that I went into this show expecting more out of it. It's just that I want more out of shows. I don't go into shows just wanting just brainless entertainment. At least not that kind. I like a really good action movie like Ninja Scroll, which doesn't really have a deep story or anything, but there are things in it that I can appreciate that go beyond just the brainless entertainment.
I could sit here and like complain about Bakuman because it's not realistic enough to what I wanted, how, you know, mangaka live and how they get up to the things that they do. But it goes a very generic and over the top route, which obviously things don't happen that way. But I shouldn't put I don't think anyway, I shouldn't put my opinion of what I think the direction is going because it would suit my taste, when that's not the direction they're going. That they obviously want to make this inspirational for people, so to say, and they don't want to give that harsh reality. So I don't think me giving my opinion on, well, I think this could have been done better because that might have not been the best direction to go. And yeah, this series has a lot of great ideas, but in the light novel, as you said, there's little to no context or exposition on any of these ideas. So if we're talking light novel, then yeah, it is a piss poor kind of story or a piss poor excuse of a light novel. But for the anime especially, they just had fun with it seems, and they used it as a opportunity for marketing, or did this as the best. I mean, they could have done it a serious route, and they could have give fans like a really good, like, yeah, this is like a really good adaptation. But would it have been as successful? Not really.
Well, you don't know that.
Well,
no, I don't. But I mean, DxD has got its name for being how it is now, and it's popular because of how it is.
And it's a big success. I mean, it's technically the biggest accomplishment the studio has met at this point. That does not say much about the studio, as we realized. I mean, this is the studio that produced the legendary School Days, so god damn it, this is technically their best work.
Wait, so DxD was more successful than School Days?
Yeah, it was.
That's weird. You'd think School Days would be more successful given its infamy.
The thing is that we only know that because we were exposed through the internet. We didn't buy DVDs, most of us. I mean, it's not even commercially available in my region, so I cannot buy it. So that alone puts it in a different spot. But High School DxD was frigging successful. I mean, how many light novel adaptations do you know that get 3 seasons? There are only few that got this way.
I'm trying to think, and the only light novel adaptation I can think of that was successful, that was not part of like some other like bigger series, is Spice and Wolf, and that got 2 seasons.
That got 2 seasons. Then we have Shakugan no Shana, got 3 seasons. We had Index and Railgun, also 3 seasons. We had Familiar of Zero, also 3 seasons. But that are the primetime players in this category. I'm not sure if High School DxD is really primetime player in that. There's also a difference to that. All of these shows I named are shows with 24 to 26 episodes per season, and these are only 3 seasons of 12 episodes.
Are you saying it would have been better if it had 24 to 25 episodes?
I think it would be better because it only adapts to light novels, and that means that a lot of character development for other characters in the base group is a little bit limited. For example, I don't really know who Kaneko is. I mean, she's that lowly girl with super strength that they underplay a little bit.
Who's also a Rei Ayanami clone.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, ironically enough, in the light novel, she's not as much eating as she is in the anime. I only had 1 scene with her where she's eating in the light novel, but I can remember 5 to 6 scenes in the whole show where she's eating. Not sure if they included that because it's funny, or I'm not even sure if that is funny. I mean, it's just eating.
I want to go back to something that James said, because you were talking about, I'm trying to see it from my perspective rather than seeing the show for what it is. The thing with that is, I feel that this show is definitely just brainless entertainment. And I'm not trying to say that I wanted this to be fucking the next Berserk or something. I was just showing my grievances of like, this actually had good ideas that could have been used outside of it. And the fact of the matter is, I'm also saying that I don't think it's a good show even for what it's trying to do.
Okay, that's a fair statement then, yeah.
again, I didn't go into the show expecting Berserk. I didn't criticize the show based on those crazy standards. It's just that I saw things in it that I felt could have been done better elsewhere, and the things that it did do that suit it, I still don't think were taken to as far as it could have.
I mean, to drop an example of kind of how I feel about this whole situation is, like, from DxD's standpoint, from the anime, and whether you agree with this or not, it's just my personal thing. From the get-go, from episode 1, it lets you know straight away what you're getting into. Yeah, it has cool ideas, but it lets you know. It doesn't mislead you, such as Sword Art Online.
That's a whole other discussion.
I know, but it comes in with this really serious tone, you know, shit's kicking off, and then it becomes something completely different and just bullshit. Same with Erased, had a very good premise, was really promising, and then went to shit. This told you from the get-go, I want to look at some boobs. And you're like, okay, you know what? Fuck it.
And I will give this show that. It delivers on that promise, and it rarely ever strays from its tone of this is just goofy nonsense, don't think about it too hard.
It really knows who it is catering to. I mean, the first episode shows Issei and his guys watching porn. And this gets even sadder in the light novel, where they watch porn for over 10 hours after coming back from school.
Oh my fucking god.
And that is also interesting, because here is a little bit trivia about Japanese porns. Japanese porns are around 2 hours long, so they watched only 5 titles straight. It's sad. I mean, they react to the way I would be after a 10-hour porn session. They were sad and they were sad and not really good. I mean, you would be fucking fatigued after that and sad, and they started crying, so...
Oh my god, what is this? What the fuck is this?
I mean, that point of realism I didn't expect, but here's clearly somebody at work who knows his craft.
This writer, man, this guy has issues.
I'm not sure. It's actually not his first light novel, but I cannot remember what the first one was. But he really feels like he has a lot to learn, and I'm not sure. I mean, I would like to give him some slack because it's only his second, but on the other hand, some other guys have done way better with their first work, so I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure anymore.
Different people are different. Sometimes their first work is their best work, and they just go downhill from there. And others, their first work is their shittiest, and then they only get better. I mean, that's how I feel about Dream Theater. I think their first album is their worst, and I think they've only gotten better after that. And while there are other bands where I'm like, some of their earliest material, like Weezer, the Blue album and the Pinkerton album, are their best, and they've never really gotten quite that good.
And some people own Limp Bizkit albums.
Boo.
Yeah, that's my reaction.
Let's not bring in Fred Durst.
Good idea. God, this guy looks so derpy.
Fred Derp?
Yeah, Fred Durst. Coming back to the theme, I'm not sure how I should feel. I think the last 3 episodes are the best one, and I have to say, I find the last episode of the first season is maybe not the best, but it's the most tasteful, and I asked, why is that the case? And then I realized, this is the only episodes we don't see naked boobs.
Wow. And I also wanted to talk about that for a sec because, yeah, this is a show that's all about titillation. It's all about showing you boobs and ass and tits and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The animators, every excuse that they get, they show you exactly that for the most part. They'll, like, zoom in on a girl's crotch. It has no reason to be there in the context of the scene. It's just doing that just because, well, it's this kind of show. And that's part of what I was saying before, like, even within the context of the show and what it's trying to do, it even fails at doing that. And this is part of what I'm talking about. Part of the thing with this kind of show is, if you just show it and that's it, that's not good enough. You need to be able to do it in interesting ways. And that's part of the reason why High School of the Dead is considered one of the better ones. Love or hate the show, at the very least, it did interesting and weird and strange and bizarre things in how they showed their fan service.
They presented it a little bit different, because in DxD they have to focus on it for a short period of time, but in DxD it's always where. It's never center stage, but it's always there. You can see it. The characters bounce, they move.
Yeah.
But in DxD, it looks like the animation budget wasn't big enough to actually do that, surprisingly enough. But I can see why they zoom in. You forget that this show is out of Issei's perspective. Even in the light novel, he's the narrator. That's also an issue, but that's okay.
Oh god, no! That sounds terrible!
Yeah, that's a problem, because he can get pretty annoying even in the anime, but it's unbearable in the light novel. But he's the character we're looking through his eyes, so that he would look at the crotch, the boobs, the ass, that makes sense for me. It doesn't excuse that they shove in the boobs even in the scenes there they undermine the message, and not in a funny way. I mean, you can undermine the message of a show by making fun of it. If you, for example, make big speech with a female character who has gigantic boobs and is always jiggling while she's talking, that can be funny, even if that what she says is not funny, because it undermines the point.
It's a juxtaposition.
Yeah. And here, it's just, the boobs are there, and you're looking at them, but they are actually undermine the scene in itself. Because this should be a sad scene, where she's dying, but no boobs. Also, death has no meaning in this show. It just says more a minor inconvenience, but okay.
One of the reasons why I hate this genre in general, I understand why it is the way it is, because it's supposed to be a childish fantasy, but I hate that despite the fact that Issei is an insufferable piece of shit, all the girls want his cock. Fucking hate it.
Can I just jump in right quick? Because how many harems do we see where the main character's a bitch about it?
All of them? All of them are little bitches about it.
The majority? Oh, babes,
I know a lot of who enjoy this, but it's a little bit different because that are older shows where things are a little bit different. The harem dynamic was a little more homogenized. These days they have to be all bitching, all attacking at once, and I think there are some harems where that is not so much the case, and where they actually don't have a problem with that. One of my favorite ideas of that is what Heaven's Lost Property did. The main character did not actually have a problem with having a lot of girls around it, make them a little bit uncomfortable that there are no humans, but that's okay.
See, but the point I was trying to make is, if a character is going to have a romantic relationship with another character, I want to feel like they've developed a relationship, it's believable, and it makes sense, and they fall in love, get married, whatever, blah, 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 that kind of shit. But I want to feel like it's justified. That's what I'm trying to say. I want to feel like it makes sense. But in these kinds of shows, it never makes sense. It's always this guy who's completely average, who's completely unspectacular in every way, and in some cases is kind of shitty, but all the girls love him for some reason, and I fucking hate that. It's one of the reasons why, despite the fact that I don't think Love Hina is particularly good, it's one of the things I at least appreciate about that show, where all the girls hated him in the beginning, and it wasn't until the very end where they all liked him. And yeah, it's not well written or anything, but I will give it credit for that, where it's like, hey, that's different, and it makes more sense.
Hey, we cannot always be the golden boy.
Hey.
Well, Golden Boy is a classic.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
the guy did kind of earn it towards the end. I mean, he did stop an arranged marriage.
Yeah, but that is a cliche in and of itself.
Hey, women love that shit, man.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he stopped the arranged marriage at the end, whatever, but he was treated as if he was special, like, right at the beginning, for no fucking reason.
He had a fucking dragon in him.
Yeah, but that is not even shown. That's not even told.
I know.
That is not even brought up until the end of the first half. It's just, Also, the victory, he didn't actually had to beat Riser for it. In fact, he actually won before he even started fighting. That is alone the problem here.
The show, I get it, it's brainless, dumb, mindless entertainment, blah blah blah, all that shit. But at the same time, I feel like I want to be able to connect with the main character. And I don't feel like I can connect with someone if they're just given everything. Even if it is supposed to be some sort of power fantasy, I think it's much more satisfying and rewarding if I feel like they earned it. And he doesn't earn it. For the most part, at least. He just has it. Just because, fuck it, he's the main character. He's main character coon.
Character coon. We all have the same opinions on this show. I mean, by no means do I think it's a great show. I think it's fucking trash, personally. I think it's a piece of shit show. But it was the fact of having a laugh with it because it was so bad.
I get that.
And then just to have like a waifu war with it. That's all it is to me. That's just.
And I think it's about time we have said waifu war. Let's end it off with a fucking waifu war. Because your waifu is shit.
Rias Grammary? Are you going to deny that?
She's pretty good. I'm not going to deny that. What about you, Nightmare?
Nah, I'm not so into these girls. That's not the kind of waifu material I want to, especially since the problem is there's no tsundere character here that's really worthwhile.
I know,
That's alone is a problem here.
Oh wow, I didn't even think about it, but you're right. There is no tsundere.
There's no fucking tsunderes.
That alone disqualifies this show. Maybe.
I gotta agree with them on that.
Wow.
I'm on him.
Wow. Shit.
No tsundere. No waifu for me.
Damn. Savage.
Wait, you're telling me you wouldn't want Rias like wake you up naked?
I mean, if she would turn out, I would say, well, bend over and let's get through with this. But
like it's your job. Like, oh, let's just get through this.
I mean, if I want to have sex with somebody, I want to have a connection with this person. And if she just turns she just turns out to be, yeah, I find you interesting, and yeah, so you want sex? Sex? Okay, sex. I'm not so complicated about this, but it's just no.
Sometimes you just need a bitch that can't express her feelings and just treats you like shit.
I mean, you have to work for this, girls.
Exactly. Cinderella's a bitch. You have to gain it, man.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some gain if they suddenly fall for you. That's great.
Girls are like countries. They want to be conquered.
Exactly. See, Shinsai, you finally have met someone worthy.
Oh shit! No comment.
Someone that finally understands me.
I will say though that the girl that I liked the most in the show, and she was actually in season 2, she wasn't in season 1, is Zenobia. Mostly because I like badass bitches, and she was a badass bitch.
She was a badass bitch. Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with badass bitches. Some lady balls are appreciated.
I mean, Revi. Oh, she was a badass bitch.
No, I can't disagree with that in the slightest. She was.
She was. I guess the definition of a badass bitch. But...
Alright, I think that's pretty much it. I think we've exhausted everything there is to discuss, unless you guys have something else you want to bring up.
Not really. I mean, I could talk about that the meta themes of the show are not very well presented.
I didn't even realize the show had themes.
Well, not really themes. It's more like, you know, anime have to use meta comments on anime these days. And even they were not so particularly well presented. I mean, we had some Dragon Ball references here, and hey, we're okay. But it was even worse in the light novel, where they are just saying it outright. Also, I'm not so sure what I should take from devils who are actually friendlier than the church. I don't know. That sounds so weird.
Yeah, the religious stuff in this show was fucking weird. Like, I had no idea why it was even shoehorned in there. Like, it just seemed so out of place.
I mean, just give them superpowers and say, yeah, we have wings and stuff. I mean, for devils, they're especially, I would say, impy, because they're like imps, not very powerful devils, in my opinion. I mean, they all say that Rias is a badass, but the most we ever saw her do is throwing fire whips at people, and that's all, and that's the Princess of Ruin. Yay.
I don't think it even deserves to go any more into discussion. It is what it is. I mean, it's fucking DxD. It's not anything to wrap your head around, to be honest with you.
I think that's the perfect way to end it. It's fucking DxD. I want to thank both of you for joining me. This was a very entertaining discussion. Hopefully we can do this again. Alright guys, this has been Shintai, host of the Anime Room, with my good friends Nightmare and James. Please check out James's channel. Has a lot of Bleach videos if you're into that sort of thing. Nightmare, you don't really have any videos though, do you?
No, not really what I could show. I mean, if you understand German, there might be something, but no. Just wait up until I present to you my new video series, At the Mountains of Badness, where light novels are explored in a new way that makes Lord Cthulhu blush.
Well, until then, I will link your Twitter instead.
That works.
By the way, guys, the Anime Room is actually pretty cozy. There's a vending machine in here.
Yeah, man.
It blew my expectations.
I like to accommodate my guests.
I just thought it'd be a weird bouquet, but no, it's pretty swanky in here.
Only the best for my guests.
The finest.
Mm-hmm. Alright. That's it. Take care.
Bye.
Peace out!